If you've experienced any situation where you are annoyed by people around you or you start to question why they're behaving the way they are, you are experiencing what is known as psychology's two-car paradox. Hello and Salaam alaikum. Think of any social situation where you were around other people and something happened that made you feel annoyed, and maybe you thought to yourself, I wouldn't do that. Maybe you're around people who just can't seem to sit still. They keep moving and they keep fidgeting with things, or they keep needing to talk. Especially if this is in a place where people are expected to be quiet or sit still, like a meeting, a community event, a majlis. This can seem even more annoying. And let's say you happen to be walking on the road and you notice that someone in the passenger seat of a car driving by is turning all the way around to look at you. You might think that they're so nosy or intrusive. But these social situations are not as straightforward as you might think. Let's talk about the two-car paradox and what it tells us about perspective. Every day we are playing the roles of both the driver and the observer. We write stories. Imagine that you are driving to work, but suddenly a car swerves past you. You'll find yourself thinking clearly, this driver needs to go back to driving school. Let's go to scenario number 2. Imagine again that you are driving to work, but this time, you're the one who swerves. Here's the catch though. You swerved because you saw a pothole. You are likely to think about, well, I needed to do this. I have to get there. In Tanzania especially, this is the justification we often make when we're on motorbikes or we're on bajajes. I know that I'm inconveniencing everyone else, but I really need to get where I need to, and this will get me there faster. So how will it get me there faster? It's going to swerve into lanes. It's going to break laws. But I need to do it. I don't have a choice. The two-car paradox isn't actually about cars. It's about perspective. Let's understand how. What is the difference in these two situations? Why do you see your swerving as different from another car swerving? In psychology, this is known as the fundamental attribution error. Essentially, that when we do something wrong, we say that it is because of context or because of situation, factors outside of us. But when we watch another person doing something wrong, we blame it on their character, things inside of them. Remember those examples we talked about at the beginning? Maybe the person in the car who's turning around to look at you has poor eyesight. But you didn't think of that. You thought of how intrusive and nosy it is. And if you did the same thing, I bet that you would be able to justify it a lot easier. It is extremely difficult for us to separate someone's intentions from their actions, particularly when they're doing something that is considered wrong. But why does this happen? Are we all just really hypocritical, or is there something that is causing this? Inside the brain, judgment begins as perception. When we see someone do something, someone has an action, it is recognized in the brain by the superior temporal sulcus. This is the part of the brain that senses motion. Oh, someone's moved. Someone in my environment has done something. The superior temporal sulcus communicates with the temporoparietal region. This is now the region that makes sense of why something has moved. But the temporoparietal region depends on internal input. And when someone else has done something, usually when we don't know them very well, we don't have any input from inside to understand why they've done that. So the temporoparietal region is working a bit slowly. It's trying to figure it out, but it can't. So it switches on another part of the brain called the medial prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that's responsible for social reasoning, meaning making up a story about this person. This is why when we meet people, we can easily think about what their story might be. Well, what kind of life must they be living based on their clothes? What kind of job must they have? This is the social reasoning done by our medial prefrontal cortex. It is a useful tool that allows us to anticipate, predict, and decide how to act with people around us. But it also guesses so much when we don't have internal info that it can make us a teeny weeny bit judgmental. In this kind of scenario, you're not accessing empathy or understanding. It's really different when we do it with ourselves. When we think about why we do things and we try to make sense of the action that we've done, because it's about ourselves, we have access to so much more info. It will bring up memories, it will bring up feelings, it will bring up bodily awareness. Maybe you were very tense when you were studying and you weren't sleeping well. It has those memories, those traces of it, and it remembers that to construct a narrative of, this has happened because I worked really hard and I deserve it. Knowing about fundamental attribution error is a reminder that we need to exercise humility because we are only able to see from inside the car. And so we're potentially missing potholes that this car who likes to swerve was trying to avoid. Yet another reason why we talk about Allah as all-knowing.
because
in the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Imran, Ayah 154, Allah tells us that indeed Allah knows what is inside the hearts of people. You can see the verbatim translation over here.
Islam is a religion that gives particular importance to niyyah, your intention. It is given priority because two people can have the same intention but carry it out in a very different way, and ultimately it comes down to, well, what did you intend to do with this? And you'll find that when people are trying to resolve disagreements, you'll often hear people saying things like, well, it helps to know that you intended to do this, or now that I know that you weren't intending to hurt me, it doesn't feel as bad.
Islam also teaches us what is known as Husn-e-Dhan, making good assumptions about people. And it's really important to utilize this guidance, especially knowing that our brains are naturally inclined to explain things in a way that is a bad assumption about people.
The two-car paradox might be a particularly helpful tool to practice Husn-e-Dhan because it reminds you of your perspective. Are you inside your car? Are you inside their car? Can you see the whole road?
Practicing Husn-e-Dhan is very scientifically backed. We need to remind ourselves to pause. When someone does something that you don't really agree with, ask yourself, what might their pothole be? Maybe the two-car paradox is a helpful reminder that judgment belongs only to the one who can fully see the entire road. And for the rest of us who are inside our cars, mercy, compassion, empathy, and good assumptions are safer lanes to take.